right. Hello guys, it's Bart Johnson here. Yeah, it is good to be back. It is not Saturday, it is Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern time right now. And that's because when I was trying to set up this show yesterday, because we usually go on Saturdays, we had technical difficulties, which is super ironic because today the plan was to, or still is, but the plan for this show is to show off how I set up my live streams, and then of course yesterday I couldn't get the live stream set up to work. But anyway, enough about that. Everything seems to be working today, and so we're gonna hang out today. I'm gonna show you guys a little bit about my live streaming setup down here in my studio. I have kind of an interesting setup to this because I also record down here, so I sort of turned my recording setup into my live streaming setup, but I'll show you that. I'm gonna show you how I have everything set up, how I've set up my studio, the gear that I use, links and all that fun stuff down below. Before we get started, if it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you go ahead and click subscribe if you like what you see in this show and on the channel. I always appreciate it. And then we get to hang out more. But of course, today is a live show, which means that you guys are able to hang out in the chat, ask me questions, tell me what you want to see, all that kind of stuff. I really love live because of that, because of the interaction. And so, of course, I can pull you guys up on the screen right over here. I can see we already have ICE Entertainment in here saying studio looks good. I'm guessing you got that and judged it just from the thumbnail. But I'm gonna take you guys around. We're gonna go a little bit wireless today so I can really show you guys how I've set up my basement studio here. So if you guys are in here, feel free to comment and pop into the chat here. I do have it pulled up so I can keep an eye on that. We are going to be moving around a little bit today, so I'll try and pop back and keep an eye on it. But if you have any questions or comments or anything for me along the way, feel free to put them in there because we're just going to hang out and have a little fun down here in the basement. So for those of you who are probably familiar with the channel, if you have been here before, you're going to recognize this this setup down here, this backdrop in this studio. So this is in the basement of my house, and my wife, when we moved in, was generous enough to basically give me the basement to build this studio space. So I've sort of made the most of it, tried to maximize both storage and functionality and hopefully aesthetics so that I can get everything done for the channel down here. So I initially set this studio up just for recording in. So I wanted to have multiple cameras, so I have 3 cameras set up in here, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But I wanted to be able to record my videos down here, edit them, get them out really quick, and that was the original idea. And then I started doing live streaming, and originally I was live streaming from upstairs in my office/edit suite. I had a setup up there, and I started live streaming from there. And then one day I had something that was too large. A product we were reviewing, I think it was a Edelkrone Slider or something, it was too large to look at my computer desk. So I was like, how can I convert easily my downstairs studio space and make it capable of live streaming, but utilizing the exact same camera setup? And I've kind of gone a roundabout way of doing it. There's no like $10,000, $12,000 switchers or anything like that. It's actually pretty simple, and I think it works out really well, so I'm going to show you guys that today. So let's see who else we've got in the chat here. Hello from Scotland to Ian Recovery Outdoor Roads. Hello, awesome. Always love having an international audience in here. So if you guys are in here from outside of the US, make sure you comment and let me know. But anyway, what we're going to do today, so like I said, I have a 3 camera setup in here, and I'm sure you guys have seen me both in the live shows and in my recorded shows switch between those cameras. So let me show you some of those angles. Obviously, this is our A camera angle right here, which is the primary. If I switch to camera 2, I have a camera over here, which is giving us sort of a side angle. I'm sure you guys have seen this before. And then, of course, we have, if it's functioning today, because it was glitching out quite a bit, I have an overhead angle over this table that I've built. So those are my 3 primary camera positions. The camera A is pretty much always in a fixed position. The overhead is definitely in a fixed position, but I can zoom it in and out. And the B cam over here is on a tripod, so I can actually move that around a little bit depending on what kind of angles and stuff I want. Trevor's in here. What's up, buddy? Good to see ya. Glad to see everybody. I know it's Sunday, so people are probably getting the alerts and being like, what? What's he doing on a Sunday? He streams on Saturdays. We're Sunday today. We're Sunday. Long weekend messed everything up here in the US with the 4th of July and all that. But anyway, what we're going to be doing today, guys, is I am going to be showing you around how I accomplish all these different camera angles and how I'm streaming everything. And we're going to use this setup to do it. So this is, if we go to this is just the Panasonic Gh4. Love this camera. Been using it for well over a year and a half probably by now. But then I've also got this wireless HDMI system set up on top of it just so that we can move around the studio. You can see the white balance on that camera is not quite set. Whatever. We're not worried about white balance today. So this is the Hollyland Mars 300. I did a review video of this. I'll put a link down below if you want to see more in detail about that. But this is going to be so that we can float around today, and actually I can show you guys what the studio setup looks like in here, the behind the scenes. So before we get going into that, right now I am lit with several LED lights, but everything over here in the rest of the studio is all dark because I have the house lights turned off. So bear with me just 1 second. I am going to go and turn those house lights on so we can actually see what's going on around here in this basement. So bear with me just 1 second. All right. House lights are clicked on. So as you can see, it doesn't make a huge difference. It boosts our exposure over here a little bit, but I've got a light overhead here and a light overhead here. And yeah, so now we can actually see what's going on. So without further ado, guys, I'm gonna show you my view of what this place looks like when I'm doing this. So let's go ahead and let's pull the chat off the screen just so we have a clean feed there. Let me switch this to our Gh4. So here we go, guys. I'm gonna back up a little bit. So here you go. This is what I see when we are live streaming or when I'm shooting anything down here in the basement. So you can see it's not a giant space. I haven't actually measured exactly how long it is, but it's a decent enough space. You can see I've got lighting. You can see I've got the laptop that I'm streaming from. You can see I've got messes of cables and stuff all over the place. I've got some nerd collection stuff over there. I'll show you that. I've got a big TV here, which is essential for me being able to see all of my feeds and what's actually going out, what my cameras are recording. So this is my view, guys. And then if we swing around here, well, it's Star Wars. This is my backdrop. Got a light down there on the floor. Let me move to the back side here so I can actually show you guys what it looks like from the reverse. So you guys are used to seeing this kind of angle, but as you can see, this is a bit different. So this is what everything looks like. Lots of cables, lots of ugly drop ceiling. Man, I hate the drop ceiling, but it actually came kind of in handy. But you can see my 3 cameras here. So this is my Ursa Mini 4.6K. This is my primary A camera for live streaming, for recording videos, and also when I go out and shoot professionally, this is my A camera. Over here we have that secondary angle B camera that we were talking about. This is the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. It used to be this Gh4, but recently I picked up the Pocket 4K and I am in love with it, so it has become my B camera. And then if we go ahead and look up here we have mounted sort of the baby brother to the Gh4. I have a Panasonic G7 up here, and it is permanently mounted. I do not move this thing anywhere. So it stays up there. I can reach up and I can zoom and I can tap the screen to focus, but that is my permanent top-down angle looking at this table where we do all of the work. Okay, so obviously for streaming, one thing that you need, here, let me go back to one here. There we go, now you guys can see me there. So that's pretty cool. And what's really cool is that everything is working. So that's a big plus. Let me pull our chat up here. I saw a comment come in. Yeah, Trevor's saying you've packed a lot into that room, man. Yeah, you're gonna see, I try and keep really, really organized. And I have crammed a lot into this space in a short period of time that we've lived here. I think it's going on 2 years, something like that, year and a half. It'll be 2 years next February, so call it a year and a half, I guess. But yeah, a lot in here because it's a multi-function space. But we're gonna focus on the live streaming first so that I can show you guys how I have that all set up. Jeremy's in here. Jeremy Gay, good to see you, buddy. He says those lenses look fantastic. Yeah, I'll give a quick look at the lenses in a bit. They are my Schneider Xenons that I actually did do a show about as well. Love them. They're my first set of like big boy lenses, but I'll put a link afterwards down below to those. So let's go back to this holy inception mode. Let me start showing you guys a little bit about what we do. So obviously let me turn our chat window. Actually, I'll leave our chat window up here. I'll just frame up properly. So obviously you need a computer or some sort of hardware encoder to stream a live stream out to the internet. So I just use a MacBook Pro here. I'm not doing anything crazy advanced, no 4K or crazy stuff like that. So just streaming from the laptop actually works perfectly fine. I have great Wi-Fi signal down here. I have a mesh network at home that runs, so I have great connectivity. I keep a laptop here so I can actually keep an eye on what you guys are seeing, and it also helps me to see the chat because I don't have a ton of screen real estate over here on the laptop itself. So if I had a secondary monitor to watch the chat, that'd be great, but the iPad works just fine for me. And then down here is an Elgato Stream Deck, and this helps me very quickly switch between my different scenes in here. So if I wanted to get rid of the chat, I just hit main camera, and then the chat disappears. If I want to bring my chat window back, I'll hit chat, and the chat comes back up. So I recently upgraded this to the Stream Deck XL up in my office. I did a video about that. I'll put a link down below for you guys if you want to watch that show about some control surfaces. But I moved this guy down here finally because I used to have to actually physically grab the laptop and like change my scenes and whatnot. But speaking of the laptop, I want to just show you guys kind of what I see here. Let's get our focus real quick. So here we go. I've got my YouTube. I'm just keeping an eye on it kind of in the back. But the important thing here is this is OBS. So OBS, Open Broadcast Studio, is free software. There's a link in the description. But this is what I use to run my streams. So it has all the different scenes and stuff that I've built in here. Let's see if I can get focus enough or close enough to focus. There we go. So you can see I have all my different sources, all my stuff coming in and all that. Sorry if you're getting a little inception mode, if that's triggering you. But yeah, so OBS, super simple. And the best part is once I have everything set up the way I want on here, I don't have to touch it because I can use the Stream Deck now to actually do my controls. So like I said, I can take the chat on and off. I can switch over to that computer view if I want to do a Skype call, if I wanted to end the show, if I wanted to do like, for example, here's my starting screen, guys. So there that goes. But let's bring it back to the chat there. So this is my setup for actually getting the stream out into the world and to you guys, and to sort of keep an eye on it while the stream is happening. So a few devices, you know, they're not all necessary. You could do this all completely with just a laptop and OBS. That's fine. I just have the Stream Deck to help me do my switching a little bit easier, so it's just a convenience thing. And then this helps me watch the chat a little bit better. So these are convenience items right here. You don't need them. Really all you need is OBS and a computer that can handle streaming. So this MacBook Pro, I think it's like a 2013 13 actually, I think. And it does pretty good. But let's switch back to our main camera here, because speaking of that chat, I see you guys have a little bit coming in, so I want to make sure I stay caught up on that before we get too mobile. Let's see here. Trevor's asking about humidity control. I don't have humidity control down here, but maybe in the future something to look forward to. But I actually don't get a lot of humidity down here. It's actually pretty good and water sealed, and it's not bad. I haven't had any issues with all the gear being down here. It's not like a musty, damp basement. It's actually pretty decent. It's only about halfway below ground, so yeah. But that's a good point, something to look into. Sean Mark Nipper's in here. Good to see you, man. How you been? Let's see here. Blackmagic Pocket 4K will be here Wednesday. Sean's going to join the Pocket 4K club. That's awesome. And yeah, a little bit more talk about the Pocket 4K and how apparently it's still kind of tricky to get. But anyway, so that is the sort of streaming portion of the setup down here. Literally running everything just from a laptop. Upstairs, I run it off a larger computer, but the principle is exactly the same. So the next part, obviously, is you need to get your sources, your cameras, your audio, any of that stuff actually into the computer, because OBS can handle the switching between those for you, and also the sending out of the signal to YouTube or Twitch or Facebook or wherever you're streaming to. But you need to get your audio and video actually into the computer. So that is the next part of the equation. So let me show you guys how I am pulling that off down here. So let me go back to our Gh4, and I'll show you guys how I'm actually doing that switching, because you probably noticed that I didn't do that with the Stream Deck. So usually with a setup like that, you would run multiple cameras into your laptop, each with their own input, and then in OBS you would tap and switch. But I have kind of a unique setup down here because I have a different piece of hardware that I'll show you in a second that's actually allowing me to switch, and there's a reason for that. But yeah, let's switch back to our wireless Gh4. Come on, switcher. Doesn't help if the remote battery dies. But anyway, I want to show you guys exactly how I've got everything connected up here. So okay, we've still got our chat window on, but basically what I've got here is everything. I don't want power to run out, so just a quick side note, I did install a power bar under here, so I do have power to anything I need to plug in. It's just handy. But back here, if we go ahead and take a look, I don't want to jostle it too much, so let me get down here. But this guy right here is what we're looking at. Focus, focus. This is an Elgato Cam Link, and what it is it's an HDMI to USB device that literally just takes your 1080p, and they do have a 4K model now, but I'm not using the 4K model. It takes HDMI in, and it converts it to USB 3.0. And of course I have a dongle here that's going into the USB-C of the MacBook Pro, but this right here is all that I need to bring it in. And like I said, if you had multiple cameras, you can plug multiples of these in, but I am actually feeding everything in from all three of my cameras in just a single source. And I'll show you that in a second. We'll kind of backtrack our way through. So there you go. So we've got OBS and the laptop sending everything out. Let me bring my exposure back down a little bit there. Ooh, too dark. There we go. We've got that sending everything out. So it's coming in just one input source, one input is coming in through that Cam Link. I have links in the description down below, guys, to both the 4K version and the 1080p. I'm only using the 1080p version. That's all I need for streaming. I think it's fine. I haven't moved into the 4K mode yet. But anyway, now we need to figure out how am I handling these multiple cameras sending everything into a single feed. So let's take a look at that. So we're going to backtrack. So here we go. This is not the most elegant solution. This is not always here. This is only when I'm streaming. But this is our long HDMI cable that I have running all the way over to here to this gigantic mess of a command center here. So this is where all of the magic is happening and running everything. I really need to redo some cable managing, but hopefully you guys can see what's going on here. I've got several devices, but the primary one that's handling everything for me is this guy right here. This guy right here is an HDMI quad viewer slash switcher. So what it does is it takes up to 4 HDMI inputs in, so I have all 4 going in right now because it's my 3 cameras plus the GH5. They all go into this device, and then it pops an output, and it has a remote, and that's what you see me using over there all the time. Let me grab it for you. So here's the remote. This is the remote that I use to actually switch between my cameras. So I have camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, and today even camera 4. And then you can do a quad screen split even, so you could see all of them here. If you guys want to see that, let me actually do that real quick. So I'll set this down. Sorry if this is getting all crazy all over the place. Let's go to a quad split. There you go. So let me wipe my sniffly nose. Let me pull the chat off of there so you guys can really see it. But now you can see that with this remote, using that HDMI quad viewer, I can switch between all of my camera sources, or I can show you all of them at once. So here's all of them at once right now. You know, I've got my GH5 on camera 4, but so if I want to go to camera 1, I just click button 1. Go to camera 2, click button number 2. Go to camera 3, click 3, camera 4, there we go, camera number 4. So it's a pretty cool solution. It's not the quickest, as you can see. It doesn't switch perfectly seamlessly. Sometimes there's some little glitchiness that goes on in there and whatnot. But it works for me because the original reason that I bought that HDMI quad viewer was so that I could just watch this television, so that I could see all of my camera feeds while I was recording a video. So I can make sure that everything's in focus and in frame on 3 cameras at the same time. That's why I set this up. And what that allows me to do, then I realized, is I can take that feed out and I can use the remote as a sort of mini switcher and just switch between my camera feeds. So I'm able to switch between my feeds, and it's just one output, one HDMI output from that device that comes and runs into my laptop. So not a professional switcher, not something that's thousands and thousands of dollars, but you know, it works, and I didn't have to modify anything that's going on down here. So everything HDMI is running into that, so I can have up to 4 sources and get everything out and use a little remote to do my switching. Now the particular one that I have right now, it's 1080 only. You know, you got to spend a lot more money for 4K, but they actually don't seem to make the model that I got right now, but it's some Chinese something. So I have a link to a very similar one, probably identical hardware inside the box, just different naming on the outside of the case that you can pick up. I believe they're around $100, but it's really, really cool, and it's a really, I think, simple solution for managing multiple camera inputs when you only want to run one input into your computer. Because obviously if you put a whole bunch of inputs into your computer, you run the risk of overloading the USB bus with all that information coming in. Now I only have one feed coming in, and I handle the switching between at least the cameras with this guy so that you can see all 4. So I think that's pretty cool. Let's take a peek at the chat because I saw some stuff coming in here real quick, and I need a drink of water, and then we'll take a look at how I'm running each of these cameras to that hub. Let's see here. Sean's asking, does the 4K Elgato work for 1080 as well? Yes, so he's asking about the Elgato Cam Link. I mentioned that there's a 4K model. And I think the 4K model actually just sort of replaced the 1080 model. They're kind of like not making it. Yeah, it is backwards compatible. It can do 4K or anything below. I think it only, I'm not sure if it does 4K 60p, but I know they do 1080 60. Even the one I have does 1080 60, but I don't use that. I'm streaming at 2997, and some people like to stream at 24. So obviously those will be able to handle it. You know, my cameras are mostly set to 4K, but they're actually outputting 1080 over the HDMI, so everything is 1080 for this. So when I record, my cameras are doing 4K, but for streaming, I don't need 4K output. Most people aren't watching in 4K. It seems like it'd be more trouble than it's worth, you know, if you run into buffering and bandwidth issues, which I should be fine here because I have gigabit, but I'm not ready to stream in 4K yet. It just doesn't seem necessary. Theoretically, the only things I would need to upgrade to go to full 4K would be to get a 4K HDMI switcher, quad viewer there, get a 4K capable version of that, and then get a Cam Link 4K. Because everything else, the cameras, the HDMI cables, everything that I use are 4K capable. So you just need to have the whole pipeline up ready for 4K if you wanted to do that. But yeah, there are links down below if you want to check out both the models. They're actually pretty similarly priced. So nowadays, I mean, I bought my Cam Links a while ago before the 4K existed. So you might want to pick up the 4K just to kind of future-proof yourself, because I really don't think there's a giant price difference between them, actually. Let's take a look here. Trevor's asking, did you make that desk? It looks nice. Yes, I did make the desk that I have right here, so let's take a peek. So Trevor's asking about this desk. Yes, I made this desk. It is a, what is it? It's a workbench top, a walnut workbench top that I got from an industrial kind of like supply store. Finished it myself, sanded it, finished it, and then put these legs on it, these hairpin steel legs on it. So yes, I did make this table. I really like the look. Big shout out to Caleb Pike, man, because that natural wood kind of look that he uses in all his B-roll and stuff really inspired me, especially for that top-down shot. I really like that wood look. So yes, I did make this table. There we go. Got a little bit. How much for the quad switcher? And then I guess I answered it already. You said $100 is super cheap. Yeah, they're super affordable. If you get into 4K ones, that's where you're starting to get a little bit more expensive. But the 1080 ones seem to be at about the $100 range. So that's freaking awesome when you can handle your switching through that. But let's start taking a look at our individual cameras and see how I'm getting those HDMI inputs into there. So we're working our way backwards through the system, right? We've got the laptop sending everything out. We've got a single source from the Cam Link going or coming from our HDMI quad viewer slash switcher. Now I'm going to show you how I'm getting those HDMI inputs into the camera, or into the HDMI quad viewer. I'm all over the place. Too much gear in here, too much stuff happening. But let me walk you guys through that. Yeah, Trevor's saying a lot of people having issues doing 4K streams, so not ready for that yet. But anyway, guys, let's take a peek here. So we're going to start with the most straightforward and easy one, which is going to be this guy right here. So this is the Pocket 4K, and is my chat still up? Yes. So this is the Pocket 4K running one of my Schneider lenses, the 35 millimeter. I love these lenses. I have a video about them. I'll try and remember to put a link down in the description below, but I love these lenses. They're so great. Full manual, but I'm a full manual old school type of guy. So. But anyway, here is the Pocket 4K, and this one's easy because all I need is 1080 HDMI out, and this has full-size HDMI out. So real simple, no conversions or anything needed. I have this cable coming out of it. I have the output in the camera set to do 1080, so I'm not outputting 4K or anything like that, but it goes out. Sorry for the sniffles, guys. It goes out. I'm using the beams here of the drop ceiling, actually, using them to do just some Velcro cable ties running my HDMI, comes in, joins another HDMI, comes all the way over here, goes down, goes around the back, goes through a big mess, and then here it is right here. Actually pops into, man, I should have dusted this before. My wife came down and actually vacuumed the floor before this show because she was embarrassed because there were leaves and stuff all over the place. But yeah, I guess I didn't do any cleanup. But anyway, here's the HDMI coming in for that. We have the green light. It's on channel 2. That one is easy, okay? So it's got HDMI out, so no need to tweak anything for that one. Now, let's move. Let's go to our A-Cam, our Ursa Mini here. So here is the Ursa Mini 4.6K, my A camera for everything, even down here in the studio. So it's got another Schneider Xenon on here. I have it connected. Everything is connected to wall power, so I don't have to worry about batteries dying and whatnot. But connected to wall power, goes down over to there. We'll talk about that. I got to get moving along so I can show you guys the full studio. But here it is, it's set up. But anyone who's worked with this camera knows that it is SDI only. There's SDI here and there's SDI here. There is no HDMI. So I'm running SDI out of the side, 1080 out. I run it down the leg. Sorry about the rat's nest here, but basically it comes down to this guy right here. And this is just a simple, come on, focus. This is an SDI to HDMI switcher from, or converter rather, from Blackmagic. So the SDI goes in, the HDMI comes out, and I feed it up to our A-Cam hub right there. So that's how that camera works. Nice, simple, straightforward. Only problem is that you need to do the conversion, but those converters are actually pretty affordable. I have a link to the Blackmagic one down in the description below. Now, we're going to get to this guy up here. So this one you might think is actually pretty straightforward. So I have some grip and rigging here to get it rigged up. I found these amazing scissor clamps that actually clamp onto drop ceilings and allow you to add it has a baby pin on it, so I could do all this with some gobo arms and some knuckles. I'll have links to these as well, so if you have drop ceilings and you need to mount stuff to it, even temporarily for a shoot, these are freaking awesome. But anyway, I have the camera mounted up here on a little camera plate platform, and you would think, okay, this one's just HDMI out as well, which it is, so it should be pretty easy. The only problem is I want to record from this camera too. When I record shows down here, I want to record that footage. Not everything is just a live feed. But I don't want to have to reach up here, push the button, and I definitely can't get a card in and out of it with this camera plate on there. And I don't want to take this thing down all the time. So I need to have a different setup. So anyway, for power, it's wall powered with a dummy battery that goes all the way over and down. That's just a ceiling panel I pulled out to check for a leak, but we didn't have a leak. It's okay. But anyway, so we have an HDMI out. I believe it's micro or mini. So I have an adapter, goes to HDMI, runs along, joins the other cable, and goes back down and behind, right? Fairly simple. Wrong. This one has something special. So like I said, I need to record. So what I did is I actually use, sorry, I'm trying to get my exposures right. This is my original Hdmi SHOGUN. And what I did was I fed the HDMI into this, and then it comes out from this and goes into this guy. So what that means is that this is in the middle of that throughput, of that HDMI signal, and then I can just pop an SSD on here and I can record this camera angle when I'm shooting videos right from here to ProRes, and I don't have to worry about putting cards in that camera up on the ceiling or anything like that. So all of my recording is then done right here. Awesome, right? Freaking sweet. So I thought that was a good solution. I don't use this guy very much anymore, so it kind of just lives here, and it's able to pass through the signal to this when I need it, And when I need to record, I just pop a drive in there, and there we go. In a second, I'm going to talk about what this guy is for, but let's get back over here and let's take a peek at our chat, see if we got any questions and stuff coming in. Let's go back to one. All right, let's see what we got here. Sean saying, my kids were eating peanuts from the shell in my office. Still need to vacuum that up. Yeah, so I had some leaves and stuff on the floor in here because we have a door right here that leads to the outside, and I take gear in and out, and so it was, yeah, I mean, it's fine, right? It's a working studio. It doesn't need to be pristine all the time, but at least we got it kind of cleaned up for this show, you know. But anyway, moving right along. So we've got now our 3 primary cameras going in, right? The B cam over here, B cam over here, this guy, straight HDMI all the way through to my HDMI splitter, or HDMI hub rather. A camera, obviously needed a converter from SDI to HDMI. They're about 50 bucks, link in the description down below to the one that I used, but that one's pretty straightforward. And then camera 3, which is our overhead here. Little bit trickier because I don't want to mess with that camera when I need to record. So I run it over to an Hdmi SHOGUN, the original SHOGUN. I can record 4K ProRes from the overhead camera when I need to record a show. But when I'm doing live, it does perfect pass-through, and it down converts the 4K that's going into it to 1080 and feeds it to our HDMI quad viewer splitter. All of those feeds are then controlled and switched via this remote by me, and it's a single HDMI output feed that comes across the room, comes up, goes into my Cam Link, goes into my laptop, which goes into OBS, which then goes out to you. There we go. So when I record down here, I can record on the SHOGUN, internally on the Ursa Mini, and internally on the Pocket 4K. I've got all ProRes, all 4K across all 3 cameras. Take that stuff up, go and edit. But all I have to do is turn them on and turn the quad viewer on for me to get a feed when I want to do streams. So there we go. Let's see here. Trevor's saying, if you wanted just a simple Blackmagic setup, how much more would it be? I know they have plug and play stuff for this. So I'm not actually sure. So I think you're asking if you went with like a Blackmagic switcher and all that stuff that's actually made for live streaming. I looked into that, but really what I did down here was I wanted to figure out if there was a way for me to just slightly modify what I was already using for recording to live stream. I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of money putting in a dedicated live stream setup. And I already had the HDMI quad switcher because I use it, like I said, on that TV to monitor all my stuff while I'm recording. And then I just figured out, like, wait a minute, I can use that to feed it to the computer. So I don't know what a true dedicated Blackmagic setup would entail, but I mean, if you're talking $150 for a Cam Link, and you're talking $100 for that HDMI quad view switcher, and then you're talking about free for OBS, and if you already have a laptop, I mean, you could really be switching between multiple cameras, multiple HDMI cameras, and streaming for only 250 bucks. So that's pretty freaking cool. Yeah, pretty awesome, and I was really happy with the way it worked out. So the one thing that I did not show you is obviously the HDMI quad viewer only has one HDMI output. It's a single output, right? But I want to send it both to the laptop here, and I want to be able to see it on the TV. So that was simple. I literally just went and bought an HDMI splitter. So it's a little box, takes one HDMI input and then just sends the same thing out. It's not a switcher where you like change inputs. It is just a splitter. So it's sending the exact same signal out to my TV. Why did I say it funny? The TV, to my television, to my confidence monitor, There you go. It's sending the exact same feed to my conference monitor as it is sending to the laptop. So that's how I'm able to sort of see at the same time. So I have a link to one very similar to the one that I have in the description down below. So if you want to pick up one of those, there you go too. I also have some really long HDMI runs in here, and HDMI can get a little finicky over long distances. I've actually been thinking about replacing the cable that I have for the overhead camera because I do get some glitchiness from that sometimes. So I want to upgrade it to a higher grade cable. And I found these cables that I really like. I have links to them down in the description below if you guys want to see some cables that I trust. I've used them up to like 25 feet. And haven't had any issues with them, even with 4K and all that kind of stuff. So they're really affordable from, they're available on Amazon. I just really like those cables, and I know trying to find reliable HDMI cables can be a huge pain in the butt. So hopefully I did some work for you and you can get some use out of the ones that I trust. All right. It says, I like your setup, just curious how much money you saved. I don't know. I don't know how much money I saved by not throwing a lot of money into a dedicated high-end switcher or something like that. That'd be interesting to calculate. I should get those numbers and then give them to my wife and be like, look how much money I saved, right? That's the way that works. Anyway, I've got a few more things I want to show you before we get into the rest of the studio, because this has taken a lot of time, but it's a lot of stuff here. And that's audio, okay? So audio, so I've got video coming in, but obviously audio is the other half of the equation. So I actually am not running audio into any of the cameras. I'm actually injecting the audio into the feed. So audio is coming in over the Cam Link. It can handle both audio and video. Okay, so I'm not doing a mixer or anything crazy like that. I'm literally running it in over HDMI. Not the best solution, but it works great. For down here, I have a mixer upstairs. But let me show you exactly how I'm doing that. So my wireless Lav setup that I'm wearing right now, this is the Sony UWP. It's the older version of them, but it's the same kind of tech. Really love these mics. So I have a pack right here, a body pack that I'm always wearing, and so I'm sending wirelessly my audio over to the receiver. And let me show you right now where that receiver is, and this is where that other Atomos comes into play. So let's switch to our camera 4, and let's go check this out. So I have my body pack on me here, my Sony, that is wirelessly sending my voice. And it is wirelessly sending it not very far. It is sending it to this guy right here. So this is my receiver for the audio. This is my receiver for the Mars 300 right now. So this isn't usually here. It's why it's kind of just like jankily set there, but it's getting the wireless from this camera so we can move around. But anyway, this is here. This is where my audio is going into, and then I'm taking it via XLR into my Atomos Shogun Inferno. And what it is doing is I have the HDMI out from this. So before it goes to the computer, I have the HDMI out from this is actually going into the Inferno. And then I'm using the Inferno to inject my audio. Sorry, this is really hard to do. To inject my audio. So my XLR audio is coming in, now it's joining the feed, and then it's going out, and then it's heading over to the computer. So does that make sense? So I am literally just using this. I mean, this is way below what you should be using a Shogun Inferno for. But it was here, I had it. But yeah, it is literally just injecting my XLR audio. So my XLR audio comes in here. So all of this stuff goes into that, comes out of that sucker, goes into this just to pass through, but it picks up the audio now here and then goes out and then runs along the cable all the way over to wholly overexposed laptop. So there you go. That is why my Shogun Inferno is there. And yeah, it's overrated. I can probably find a cheaper device to inject XLR audio into a video feed, but that works. And then my normal channel 4, this has nothing to do with the setup. My normal fourth input is right here. It's an Apple TV so that I can, wow, that's dusty, so that I can watch movies down here while I'm working sometimes. So it doesn't always have to be all business. Sorry, that's super overexposed. But there you go. So we've covered most of the basics. We've covered getting 3 cameras in. We've covered switching it with the HDMI quad viewer. We've covered injecting audio via XLR with an Atomos Shogun Inferno, which it is way too expensive for that sole purpose, but whatever, I had it on hand. But yeah, the long and short of it is, it all works, and it works really well for my purposes down here. Obviously, like I said, this is kind of an interesting custom setup, so you can pick and choose what you want, what you don't want, what you need, but this is how I sort of accomplish this. So real quickly, guys, I'm gonna run through my lighting just real quick, because we are running a little short on time, although I guess this can go a little bit longer if you guys have more questions and stuff for me. But I wanna show you guys my lighting setup. Just real quick, and then I want to show you a little bit of the rest of the stuff, the storage and all that in the studio, and some of the stuff we've got going on. So let's see if we got anything else. Just talking a little bit more about, oh, there's my wife. Only counts how much you spent. I guess she's watching. All right, let's go to channel 4 here, and I'm going to show you guys my lighting setup. So this is going to be a quick and dirty rundown because you guys can pretty much see what I've got going on here. Actually, let me kill our chat for this so I can really show you guys the wide. Let's get a main camera. Okay. So here we go. This is what I usually see, guys. So overhead, I am lit. This is a Falconize RX29 TDX or something like that. So it is an LED bicolor matte. And it comes with this softbox and grid, so I have that set up. I have the grid on there so it's not spilling all over the place. But this gives me nice illumination down onto the table for the top-down shot. It is rigged up there in all of this grip and rigging to the ceiling, so it's clamped on there, but it is a flexible mat. And then its controls run over here to the wall. It does have a remote, but it's easy enough for me to just reach and control it right there. Then my sort of key and fill lights. This is my key. This is an Aperture LS1C panel. It has a small softbox, just a generic one that kind of fits it from Amazon on there. So that is my key. And it is hung also from one of those scissor pins. There we go, scissor pins that attach to drop ceilings. So sorry about this panel missing. Over here we have another LS1 as my fill. It's another LS1C, and this guy is actually mounted on the wall. Let's see if I can show you. So I don't like having light stands in tight spaces, so this is a baby plate that swivels, so I have it actually wall mounted. So instead of actually having like all this floor space taken up with tripod or light stand legs, I can mount it to the wall there and it just permanently stays there. And of course, all of these are remote controllable, which is awesome. Now let's get to our background. And actually, I'll kill the house lights for this. So again, doesn't make a huge difference, but there we go. But anyway, so for my background lighting here, I have not one, but 2 Aperture F7s. They are hardwire plugged in, not remote controlled, so I just have to touch the switch to turn them on. But there's one, and then I have a matching one on the other side here, just kicking some light onto my backdrop stuff here. Here I have an Aperture Mini 20C, which gives me my sort of nice rim light and highlights. So that guy's up there. Again, also wired into wall power. It's kind of janky, but it all goes down and whatever. Out of sight, out of mind, right guys? And then down here I have my background light. So this is the Aperture Tri 8C. This one is remote controllable. I just have it on a super low stand, and it gives us some kick on this backdrop. Now this backdrop, as you can see, is actually not brick. It is fake. It is a fabric backdrop that I have held up with like a shower curtain type deal. And then I have all this decorative stuff here. Oh, and it looks like we have a puppy down here. Indy, you want to come say hi? No? Come here, buddy. Indy. Indy, come here. Look, guys, we have a special guest. If you're getting bored of lighting, now we have a puppy. Oh, good boy. What are you doing? Is mommy over there? Well, and there he goes. Quick special guest visit. All right, let's see if we got anything in the chat real quick here before we get into the other side of the studio. Oh, come on, there we go. So what we've got here, the Construction Podcast is asking, can you mention the system you are using with the GH5 wirelessly? So he's talking about this, what I'm using right now. This is the Hollyland Mars 300. I have a link. If I don't have it there yet, it will be there as soon as this video is over. Link in the description down below. I did a review of this unit. It's decent, has a little latency, but there's a review down below. But that's what I'm using today to do the wireless from the GH5. And let's see here, I'm looking to finish off my basement, drop ceiling alternatives, or you didn't look into it. So I haven't looked into replacing the drop ceiling down here. I just kind of sort of worked with it and made it work for me. Eventually I do want to get rid of the drop ceiling. I just think it's ugly and it sucks. But anyway, background is dope, like the brick. Yeah, this background is actually really awesome. Actually, I got the idea for it from Kevin over at the the Basic Filmmaker, not the Frugal Filmmaker, Basic Filmmaker. So his channel is awesome, and he has a very similar backdrop in a slightly different style. And I asked him a long while ago. I was like, dude, where did you get that? And I went and got one as well. I'll try and find a link if they still make it and put it in the description down below, because it was just bought it off of Amazon. I think it's called like Katie Backgrounds or something like that. Katie, like the name, K-A-T-I-E. But I will look that up for you guys. You talk for about an hour straight, man. You get dried out. So this is one of your live stream essentials right here. But anyway, let's keep on going. Oh, sorry, I didn't even have the chat up. But anyway, we're gonna pull that down, and we're gonna keep on trucking along. So we covered the lighting. Sorry, guys, I'm gonna kick the house lights back on. We covered the lighting. I have links to all of those lights and everything in the description down below for you guys if you want to pick up any of those. But you know, just a pretty simple setup. Everything hardwired, so I don't have to worry about batteries or any of that stuff. I do have some little accent LED lights and stuff in here, just with some stuff. This is actually, these film canisters actually have my senior thesis film from college in there, which is pretty cool. Old Phantom 1 does still work, but it's you know, it's kind of old, so it's just become my my old little prop up here. Reminder of better days. This is just a you know, a focus chart, test charts and stuff if I ever need to do like camera testing and whatnot. Let me show you guys what else I've got up here. I've actually got a vinyl backdrop. I actually just mounted some pipe fittings and rolled a pipe across and put the vinyl backdrop on there. So whenever I do lighting tests, I pull that down because it's a true 18% gray. So I can pull that all the way down and have a nice spot to actually test lights, spot and flood and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, but I want to show you guys a little bit of the rest of the studio and what I've got set up. Got a question in here. Hey, DL, good to see you, man. What's the color rotating LED lighting you have behind your shelves? Ah, okay. So yeah, not really filmmaking related, but let me show you guys this. So this is one of my other things. I have begun collecting helmets. So I have a few Star Wars helmets here. More coming in the collection in the near future. And then I have sort of my Marvel collection over here. So yeah, we've got Captain America shield, original Captain America helmet, and Captain America Infinity Gauntlet, Star-Lord. Anyway, and Judge Dredd down there all by himself, but there'll be more from other movies coming. These are just hit lights. They're colored LED strips that I wired all together, and I just sort of let them rotate and go and do their RGB thing. So this studio space is also sort of my nerdy man cave, so that's my helmet collection there. Yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll show this off more in the future, I don't know. Another collection that I have over here is GoPros. So the Hero 7 is out right now. My neighbor just had a baby, so he borrowed that to cover the birth and everything. So that is out right now, but I'm only missing a few GoPros. This is the original GoPro. It's crazy. Been finding them all on eBay and stuff like that, but I've got the flagship of all of them and been just collecting it and doing fun stuff. Sometimes when I need it in the studio, when I'm recording and I want to get some more dynamic shots, I have here my Edelkrone Slider Plus Pro with the new Head Plus unit. I'm going to try and do a video on this soon, guys. I've just been super busy, but yeah, I absolutely love this slider. It works great even with the Blackmagic Pocket with these big heavy Schneiders on it. Handles it just fine, so I use that a lot. But let's start looking at this back wall here behind the camera with some storage. So let's start in the corner, kind of buried back here. So I have this this wall mount. This is from Kupo. I do have a link to this down in the description. Bolts into the studs and then allows me to hang light stands and combo stands and all sorts of stuff. So this thing is awesome right here. I have some collapsible little backdrops and reflectors and stuff hanging on the wall. Here I have, this is a big grip kit from Matthews that has C-stands and gobo arms and stuff like that for when I travel. That thing's super heavy. These are old dead speakers that I need to get rid of. This is my cart. But basically this is my little grip storage corner here. Then if we move over to here, this is my charging station. So this is just an IKEA cabinet that I've rigged up. It's got all my V-mount charging needs up here. So I have several V-mount chargers and plenty of batteries. Here we've got all other batteries. We've got 18650s for some of my gimbals and such. We've got Sony, Panasonic, Canon LP6. Plenty of rechargeable double and AAA batteries because I actually run the whole house on rechargeables. Down here is like battery packs and battery banks and walkie-talkies apparently. Big battery banks for all sorts of stuff. Can never have enough of those, especially when you travel. And then this is this is just a powered thing that it doesn't do any data transfer. It just puts power out via USB. And I have all of these USB cables, micro, USB-C, all that stuff. So they all terminate in different connections. But basically anything you bring in here, you're going to be able to plug into this and charge up right here on the rack. Cases full of all the different types of batteries, media cards, odds and ends and electrical connectors and adapters and whatnot. So this is really just my big power cart here. This is some more grip and electric in here, mostly extension cords and whatnot. But this is something I've really been working on. This is my pegboard wall where I've got all sorts of stuff. So I've got HDMI cables, SDI cables, XLR cables, HDMI couplers and adapters, cable ties, tape, lighting modifiers for the Aperture like COB series, you know, Bowen's mount stuff here, some GoPro stuff, suction cups, the platypod. I did a video on the platypod recently, friction arms, other magic arms and stuff like that. So all of that stuff lives right here. And this is always just a growing kind of work in progress as I've been putting this pegboard up on the wall. I do have a link to this pegboard. It's metal, and I really, really like it. So I'm finding the best ways to utilize that. This is just a heater. This is a fish tank when I did my UV lighting video. So that's still here. I need to clean it up and need to sell it. Then over here, this is just random stuff that I need to go through, but a lot of this is all stuff that I've been sent that needs to be reviewed. Here I have storage both for hardware stuff and for filmmaking stuff. Like I've got rosette mounts and tripod plate pieces and all sorts of stuff, NATO rail mounting stuff, Velcro, 15mm rod accessories and stuff in here. Lots of hard drives that I've been testing, old hard drives that I'm probably going to sell off, but I've been testing them and getting their ratings. Obviously that one didn't do very good. Over here we've got my Lightsaber collection, because like I said, this is my sort of man cave as well. So here's my Lightsaber collection, a couple movie posters and whatnot. And then actually before we dive in there, I'm going to take a peek at our chat, because I know I've been going full steam ahead. So let's set that down. Sorry guys, getting the sniffles. And go to our chat. Okay, so let's see what we've got. I thought they were like quasar tubes. Okay, so the only question was about the lights that I had behind the the Avengers collection over there. No, they're not quasar tubes or anything like that. They're just decorative little lights. Although I plan on looking at some tube lighting pretty soon. But anyway, before since we're hitting the did we drop frames? Huh, interesting. Before we get out of here, I do want to show you guys the gear room next door just real quick. We're not going to dive into it. Sorry this has run a little bit long, but I just want to show you the rest of it so you get the full idea of the basement studio. So let's open this up. So like I said, guys, you've seen all this. This is where the work happens, and then the gear storage is just on the other side of this wall. We come through, some more movie posters. That was my film in college right there. Little Film Riot poster. Love Film Riot. But then we come into here. Oh, look at that greenish lighting. But anyway, this is laundry / gear storage. So cases and cases of gear, camera, lighting, spare cases and stuff, all sorts. I guess I got a suit that I need to clean. Anyway, this is semi-organized, but this is where I store all of my gear and all of my equipment when I travel on the road, when I go out on shoots and all that. So yeah, there's that guy. Let's come back in here. There you go. There's that. I think they just had their 10-year, which is crazy. But yeah, Film Riot's awesome. Got the Pegboard Wall, charging station. We've got grip and modifiers and stuff. Oh, and as you can see, so these windows actually go out, so the ground is about right here. So these windows go out, but I wanted to be able to work in here during the daytime. So I actually put black vinyl on the inside of the windows so that everything is completely blacked out. So if we come over here, here's another set right here. And then I did the same thing on the door right here. So I kind of have no idea if it's daylight outside or not, or like what's going on, but it makes it so that it's a decent studio working space. So there you go, guys. I think we covered everything there. Trevor says, yeah, you dropped some frames while you were sipping water. Oh, good. That's the best time to drop frames. Wasn't anything important happening. But anyway, So there you go. I know that last part was a little bit rushed. It took a lot more time than I kind of expected to go through the live streaming and camera and lighting setup, which, you know, I guess that makes sense. There's a lot of stuff to cover in there. So there's links in the description down below to the majority of the stuff that I mentioned. If there's gear you want to pick up or look into, I tried to list pretty much everything I could think of that I would be mentioning in there. HDMI cables, the HDMI splitter, SDI to HDMI converters, the HDMI quad viewer. Obviously, if you're not running an HDMI system, you're going to need completely different stuff, and you're going to need to do some some SDI solution. But I think that the majority of people are probably working with HDMI, but who knows? I could be completely wrong. That's the way I'm working here. My system is HDMI based. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll hang out for a few more minutes. I'm sorry I didn't get to show you a whole bunch more about the charging and the gear storage and all that, but I actually do have plans in the future to do dedicated videos on each of those sort of sections down here and how I sort of keep everything organized. Because obviously the challenge is, it's not a giant space. It is a good sized space, but I have a lot of stuff that I need to fit into it, and I also need it to be a functional space. I need to be able to move around. I need to be able to move cameras around. I need to be able to record. I need to be able to do a live stream. I need to be able to pack to go out and do an actual shoot for hire. So I need this space to be all of those things, and I've been learning as I go. There have been some rearranging and shifting around, and sold off a bunch of stuff that I didn't use anymore that was just taking up space, but it's always kind of an evolution. And it had been a while since I had shown you guys this space, so I figured it'd be a cool thing to do today. So let me know if you guys enjoyed this video, if you want to see more stuff like this, and if you do have any questions that you didn't get to ask in the live chat, or if you're catching this video on replay, please ask any questions in the comments down below. Let me know if you have any questions about live streaming, how I'm doing what, why I'm doing things the way that I'm doing them, and I will gladly answer those questions for you. You can also go ahead and ask me questions on Discord. So I have a link down below to the Discord server. You can pop on in there, become a member, hang out, chat with me and the rest of the group that's in there 24/7. Anytime you have a question, maybe you want to share something, or you just kind of want to hang out and shoot the breeze, pop on in there and drop me a line or ask anybody else a question, and we'll have some good conversations over in there. So let's take a peek at the chat, see if we got anything else. The Construction Podcast is saying, great studio tour. Would you change anything in this studio? So change, probably not at the moment, because I'm pretty happy with the way everything is. I would sort of update a few things. So as you saw, I have a lot of exposed cables up on the ceiling. I mean, they're just HDMI cables and stuff like that, but what I would like to do is I would like to redo the ceiling, and I'd like to run my cables actually up and above the ceiling so that they're not just sort of Velcroed to the ceiling. Even though that doesn't make a huge physical difference, the appearance of something covered in cables and stuff makes it feel smaller, makes it feel a little bit more claustrophobic just because of the clutter. So hiding cables, tidying up cables, all that kind of stuff, that'll actually go a long way for the feel of the space. It won't change the functionality at all. You know, I'm not getting any space back or anything like that, but it'll just make it feel a little bit more open, a little bit cleaner, all that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty happy with the way things are going right now. I don't have any immediate plans to make big changes to anything down here. I just added more pegboard and all that, and I'm really happy with that. So far, the storage is working out pretty well, but you know, we'll see what the future comes or brings, because as my business evolves, as the channel evolves, and all of that, my needs for my studio will evolve as well. So it's gonna constantly change, but you know, when it changes in the future, we'll make another video and we'll hang out again and we'll tour it again. So there we go. All right, DL is saying thanks. Yeah, guys, we are just beyond an hour at about an hour and 9-10 minutes. So I am getting parched here, and we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. So thank you very much to all of you guys who hung out live today. Hope you enjoyed checking out how I sort of pull all of this live streaming craziness off. Especially by myself without a producer to be switching behind the scenes and stuff like that. Like I said, if you have any questions for me, pop them in the comments, join Discord, whatever you need to do, get in touch with me on social media. I'm all over the place, and I will gladly answer any questions you have and help you guys out. If it was your first time today, make sure to go ahead and subscribe, click that notification bell so you can know every time we go live or I have a new video released. And I'll let you guys go and enjoy the rest.